welcome to the week that was, TIOL's weekly news roundup. Today we bring you news highlights and a telescopic peek into two major developments during this week.
Let's have a quick look at the major policy changes, legal and tax news coverage this week.
Electronic tracking of big money has exposed money mule transactions. Money laundering in these transactions is done through a poor wage earner's bank account, which is used to receive and transfer illicit money without the knowledge of the wage earner. The Income Tax Department had issued a legal notice to a daily wage earner for a Rs 1 crore transaction about which the account owner was clueless. This accidental discovery has shocked the banking industry. This is similar to the PAN card fraud where random PAN card numbers were quoted in big money transactions.
If a signature can be forged, so can a thumb impression. Fraudsters have found a way to cheat biometrics through the use of synthetic bandages with cloned thumb impressions, which police recovered from an examination center in Sagar, Madhya Pradesh. More than 9 lakh candidates were appearing for 14,000 constable posts vacant in the state. Even in Bihar, impersonators had used fake thumb imprints to appear in pre-medical tests. Even biometrics has submitted to human flair for deviousness.
The lords of the temples will now accept your donations in the form of shares and securities. Sri Siddhivinayak Ganpati Temple in Mumbai has opened a CDSL account with SBI Cap Securities that will accept demat shares of listed entities as donation from devotees. Last year, Tirumala Tirupati Devasthanams had also opened a demat account for the same purpose, and it is receiving a thumbs up from the devotees. Incidentally, Siddhivinayak Temple deposited 1,311 kilograms of gold with Punjab National Bank under the gold monetization scheme. Even the gods now accept money in any form.
The cabinet has given its nod to the amendment of the Benami bill to make asset disclosures under the income declaration scheme easier. The amendment will provide the person disclosing assets under the IDS with immunity from the stringent Benami Act. It shall also help to remove the conflict between the income disclosure scheme and the Benami Act and give the government more teeth to confiscate Benami property. Even as Kane Energy is embroiled in tax warfare, Kane India has won a small tax victory against the Rajasthan VAT Department. The Rajasthan High Court has ruled in favor of Kane India by holding that the oil company's crude oil sales from its barmaid oil fields in Rajasthan to buyers in Karnataka is interstate sale and attracts GST and not local VAT. This decision would help Kane India to save up to Rs 1,000 crore in taxes. A flight from Jakarta to Jeddah had a narrow escape from a possible replay of snakes on the plane. A passenger was trying to smuggle 10 live baby pythons in black cloth bags wrapped around his calves and ankles under his trousers. He was caught before boarding a Garuda flight from Jakarta, Indonesia to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. The wriggling of the snakes showed up on the X-ray machine. Snakes and other exotic creatures are in high demand due to instant big profits from use in snake massages and are also a delicacy.
Let's now have a look at the yellow metal stashed away in customs vaults. Is it for real?
The Delhi Customs is definitely not sitting on the gold mine, at least at the Indira Gandhi International Airport. In the latest, many of the sealed packets of seized gold kept at the airport high security vault now contain spurious or fake gold items. In the past 2 years, more than 80 kgs of gold has been systematically replaced with fake metals. Close to Rs 7 crore worth of gold was stolen in late 2013. Early this year, another Rs 17 crore worth of gold was pilfered. The loss was detected by an inspection team of senior officials. This is not the first time gold has gone missing from the custody of Indian customs. Similar cases of missing gold and other precious items have been recently reported from Trichy and Chennai customs. What is shocking is the supervisory failure of senior custom officials to prevent such pilferage. Is it an organized theft or a larger criminal conspiracy? The customs is yet to discover the modus operandi of the pilferage since the detection of the first case 2 years ago. Is customs sleeping while the gang makes a serious dent into the government kitty? Let's take a look into the history of the missing gold. Even though the gold went missing in November 2013, the FIR was registered in July 2016 after more than 56 kilograms of gold went missing again. It may sound strange when TIOL Tube spoke with the custom officials at IGI airport. We were informed that although some officials in CBEC favored handing over the case to CBI as per CVG Vigilance Manual, many opposed it. Even FM called for fixing responsibility in July 2015, but no heads have rolled so far. Inaction costs dear. Nearly 56 kg of additional gold was found to be missing. Was it again the supervisory failure of the CBEC?
Gold disappearing from the vault. That means there is some problem with the custodian of the gold. So obviously then there must be some connivance there. So but that has got nothing to do with the customs procedures. And as I mentioned, now the work of the customs has changed. There is not so much of assessment work. You don't need that many officers. You need officers for enforcement. You have to having intelligence wings like DRI, Directorate General of Revenue Intelligence. That has become very important because it's intelligence based. Sitting in the office, they will know where the gold is coming. They will know from the network.
Interestingly, although there are precedents for the CBI to take sumo to take over the case, it has also not shown any interest to do so. Let's take a look at the procedure of disposal and the upkeep of seized gold. Soon after the illegal consignment of gold is confiscated, it is dispatched to the strong room of Customs Department until the adjudicating authority takes it over. The accused is then issued a show cause notice, and the seizing unit then issues the disposal order and disposal procedure commences. Experts say that the system is foolproof. The crime happens when the procedure is not diligently followed. It takes a dexterous hand less than a few seconds to replace the precious metal with a fake one. Officials told the TIOL Tube that no disposal exercise has been undertaken for more than a decade, which means there could be gold worth over rupees 300 crore in Delhi alone. Now the main question is, how safe are these sealed packets if we have had a few instances of gold being replaced by the fake metals? Here is what Mr. Somesh Arora, retired Commissioner, Customs and Excise, had to say.
Conduit brings the gold. It's seized by the officers. Of course, if the adjudicating authority requires it, or appellate authority requires it, or even court requires it, it is needed to be produced. Supposing there's a lot of crowd there in a court or this thing, 5 to 10 minutes, there's only one inspector and one sipahi who goes to produce the whole thing. If 5 minutes box goes here and there, it can be easily substituted. So the human errors could be, earlier, there's a very strong system of passing out boxes by examining and all that, and then only the charge handing over and taking over will take place. But over the years, we find there's the last minute order comes, and there's a deadline 6, release them within a day or two. So there's so much to check for a person who is to assume charge. Naturally, he will be conscious, because it becomes his responsibility if something goes wrong while he is holding the charge.
Considering that India is the world's second largest gold guzzler after China, it is important that the CBEC gets more serious about timely disposal. The case of the missing gold needs urgent investigation. How about some disciplinary action against supervisory officers who sat over the case and allowed criminals to repeat the crime? Is FM listening? Only follow-up action would answer this question. And let's now have a keen look at the implications of the pollution order of the National Green Tribunal in Delhi.
Delhi is the most polluted city in the world. So isn't it ironical that the Indian judiciary has had to push the Delhi government to provide clean air for its citizens? But with a strong automobile lobby in India, both Delhi government and the centre have been caught on the wrong foot, showing no real will to implement the spirit of the orders. Be it in developing transport infrastructure, phasing out older diesel vehicles, or coming up with a scrapping policy. We spoke with Pulash Mukherjee, air quality expert and research associate at the Centre for Science and Environment, who who updated us on the judiciary's efforts to clean up Delhi's air since year 2000 and the implications of the order of the National Green Tribunal this week.
So, since the early 2000s, Delhi has been trying to clean its air in multiple different ways. There are industries have been addressed, road construction has been addressed, construction dust has been addressed. In terms of vehicles, in the early 2000s, diesel was phased out from public transport. So, all diesel buses and auto rickshaws were replaced by CNG variants, which is continuing to this date. And in the same process, this was a big step.
More recently, Delhi's experiments with odd and even ban on transit entry of commercial vehicles, green tax, has now left only vehicular pollution from private cars and commercial goods vehicles as the main cause of air pollution. While the Supreme Court dealt with new registrations and imposition of green tax, the National Green Tribunal ordered the Delhi government last year to phase out all petrol and diesel vehicles more than 10 years old. Since then, the Delhi government responded by impounding 3,000 diesel vehicles until 2 weeks ago. But all these vehicles were released on payment of fine and they are back on the roads. The tribunal has now modified its orders and directed the Delhi government to deregister all diesel vehicles older than 15 years, which has never been done anywhere in India.
There has been no instance of deregistration so far in the country. You can deny re-registration, but to deregister is something that will be very, very new.
The tribunal has also connected deregistration with inferior emission standards of vehicles.
The order has been modified to include 15-year-old cars, and also very specifically, they have mentioned the emission standards BS1 and BS2. So this is very important because it is not the age of cars that is being targeted, but their inferior emission standards.
It is more efficient for manufacturers to replace the car than to modify emission standards which are embedded in the engine. So all cars older than 15 years, diesel to start with, will have to be re-registered. What are the implications of deregistration? So when you give in your old vehicle, you may get a discount on the new car, a central excise duty rebate or even cash upfront. It works differently in different countries. But ironically, the government of India has no scrappage policy in place.
This is something that the government has been discussing for a very long time. So far it has been released as a draft stage, but the scrapping policy. But I see at least a year as the best, as the most positive before it comes into play.
In the absence of a scrappage policy, how will old diesel vehicles be disposed? Who will implement the order? How many vehicles are we talking about?
Right now, I think it needs to be seen how this order will be implemented, because although the NGT has passed the order, it is up to the Delhi government to implement the order. We are estimating about 2.8 lakh vehicles, including about 90,000 cars.
The tribunal has also allowed diesel cars between 10 years and 15 years to be given a no objection certificate to be sold elsewhere in the country. But is this a good solution?
What you're doing then is basically sending these cars elsewhere. You're just dislocating the problem. You're not resolving it.
Is there then any system for ensuring that deregistered vehicles do not ply on Delhi roads? Deregistration may well spur the growth of the auto industry. We are getting new emission standards BS6 by 2020. Implementation of a scrappage policy will push up auto sales of BS4 cars which are currently being manufactured. This means the government would be paying taxpayers' money now to scrap and incentivize the purchase of cars which will become obsolete in 4 years. Is it really worth it? This is the conundrum. Maybe all that is needed is greater awareness and the will among Delhiites and for the Delhi government to dramatically improve its transport infrastructure, especially roads and buses.
Today we have about 3,500-4,000 buses running in Delhi.
Obviously, these are only piecemeal solutions. Will Delhi's children lose out on their right to clean air? On this note, we conclude this bulletin of the week that was. Thank you for watching.
You may write into us at editor@tiol.in. Have a great weekend ahead.